Hey there and welcome back. In today's video, we'll be going over one of my favorite builds and a very strong build when it comes to PvP and PvE. I will go over which items to use, which abilities to take, what tier weapon I recommend, and what to look at when you're in a 1v1. Now, before we get into the video, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're interested in more Albion Online content. I did want to make a small announcement that I will also be streaming a few days out of the week on twitch.tv/Donny956. So make sure to head over and hit the follow button. I plan to stream Albion Online, other MMOs, and Soul-like games, so come hang out and be a part of the community. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first item that we're going to be breaking down is the weapon, which is the dual swords. Now, I do recommend starting off with at least a tier 6. This is going to open up all of your abilities for your W, or your second set of abilities. Now, for your first ability, if you're going to be single targeting or PvPing, you want to go with Heroic Strike. So Heroic Strike does damage and it also buffs you. So depending, of course, on your item level and the weapon, the damage itself can vary. So one of the most important things to know is that it applies a heroic charge on you. So each heroic charge is going to increase your movement speed by 9% and your auto attack speed by 12% for 6 seconds. Now you can stack this up to 3 times. So if you're fighting somebody else that has a sword, you can see these on top of their head and you can see how many stacks they have. If you see that you're outmatched, it's a possibility that you might lose that fight. So try to make sure to use the environment, either little animals that you can go ahead and charge up yourself, as well as making sure that theirs falls off before you go in for a fight. You always want to make sure that you have the advantage, and that'll go ahead and give you a great advantage with attack speed and movement speed. Now, if you're going to be doing AoE or you're going to be doing PvE, I recommend going with Heroic Cleave. Now, this also does damage and it also buffs you. But instead of hitting one target, it'll go ahead and hit multiple targets. And depending on the amount of targets that you hit, you'll receive heroic charges as well. You'll also gain the 9% movement speed and the 12% attack speed the last 6 seconds up to 3 times. So just depending on what you're doing, you can go ahead and kind of rotate between Heroic Strike and Heroic Cleave. Now for your second ability, you have quite a bit of options. You have a total of 6 options. Now my personal favorite that I'd like to kind of start off with depending on the fight is Splitting Slash. This provides damage and crowd control. It has a 13-meter long line in the targeted direction which roots all of your enemies for up to 2.4 seconds, and it deals a good amount of damage. So this is definitely something you want to do if you want to lock somebody down or combo some of your abilities, or let's say you're trying to gank somebody and you're wanting to kind of and you want to root their mount, then you can go ahead and use this. Like I mentioned, this is one of my favorite abilities to use. However, there are other options. Now, let's say you're facing a Curse Staff player and you want to go ahead and avoid their bomb. You can take something like Parry Strike, where if you time it correctly, it'll make you immune for 0.8 seconds, and it'll allow you to immune that huge amount of damage. Also, this does reflect the damage onto enemies. However, since the bomb itself for Cursed Bomb can't be reflected, it won't impact in that way. You'll be able to reflect other types of damage there for those 0.8 seconds. Now, if you're wanting to kind of close the distance, you can try to use Blade Cyclone. If you know, like you're maybe facing somebody like a Frost Mage or somebody that can run away quite a bit, this is going to allow you to close the gap and do damage at the same time. Now, what your E is Spinning Blades. So Spinning Blades does damage, it buffs you, and it provides mobility. Since you'll leap towards your targeted position, you'll become immune to all crowd controls until you are actually on the ground again. Now, it deals a good amount of damage in a 5-meter radius, so this is something good that you can use either to close the distance or open up with to provide some sort of burst. Just be wary that you don't get countered, jump over your enemy, and lose track of them. Now, if you hit at least one enemy, you'll increase your attack speed by 30% and your physical auto attack damage by 65% for 4 seconds. So it's very important that you do land this. It does have about a 15-second cooldown. So you want to make sure that you're lining this, that way your damage goes up drastically. You can combo this by locking them down with your Splitting Slash and then jumping on top of them and hitting them, or vice versa, whichever you prefer. That'll go ahead and put a lot of burst damage out. For your passive, I recommend going with Deep Cuts. So every 4 auto attacks, you'll inflict a bleed on the enemy target, and it'll be over 1.5 seconds. So as long as you're auto attacking your target, which you should always be doing, you're going to be providing this extra damage to them. So that's going to be what your main weapon is for the dual swords. Now let's talk about the helmet here. So for your headpiece, you're going to go with Hunter Hood. So Hunter Hood is really good because of the defense that it provides. So pretty much what it does, it puts a barrier around you that reflects up to 85% of incoming damage. So you want to make sure that you hold on to this. You don't want to go in right away. This is not going to be something that's going to boost your damage. You want to kind of use it as a counter, right? If you know that they're popping their cooldowns, they're ready to go in on you, you want to go ahead and use this. That way they go ahead and inflict a lot of that damage on themselves. and then you still have your own cooldowns, you know, kind of put them away or make them feel like they need to run away, something where it's just going to give you that advantage. Now, it does have quite a bit of a cooldown. It has 45-second cooldown, so be aware of that as well. Now, for the passive, you're going to go with Balanced Mind. Balanced Mind is going to increase your damage and your healing. It's also going to increase your defense. So this is something that's just going to make you a little bit more defensive. Now, when it comes to your chest, you're going to go with the Mercenary Jacket. So the Mercenary Jacket is great because of Bloodlust. So pretty much what this does is that every auto attack that you do up to 7 times for 6 seconds is going to restore your health when you deal direct damage. Now, you want to hold on to this as long as you can, and also be wary that this can be countered. A player that's used to PvP will wait for you to pop this and then they'll go invisible because they're going to wait that time out so you don't heal. If you see somebody else use it, try to crowd control them, try to run away a bit, making sure that they're not able to restore their health, because the last thing you want to do is get in an all-out battle where you're just auto-attacking each other and they're just healing to full health because you have nothing else to stop them, right? So you want to make sure that you're wary of that, and you want to make sure that there's no way that they can avoid it on you. If you see that they're going all in, they have no way to get out, then you could pop it to get that advantage. So when it comes to the passive, you're going to go with Balanced Mind. So Balanced Mind increases your damage and your healing cast by 4%. It also increases your defense. So once again, just giving you a little bit more damage, giving you a little bit more healing from that Bloodlust as well. Now for your boots, you're going to go with Soldier Boots. So Soldier Boots are great because one, they're very cheap. They provide you a lot of defense, max health, max energy, and they provide you with the option to take Rejuvenating Sprint. So Rejuvenating Sprint not only increases your movement speed by 80%, but it's also going to heal you over 5 seconds. When PvP, the most important thing is usually the last person to use their boots wins. And the reason being is that when you're using your boots, you usually want to do it to get away. So if you use your boots too early and you're down, or you use it in the wrong time where you're trying to like gank them, and then they use their boots and you can't catch them, right? So if you're able to get the opponent to use their boots first, it's going to be a lot easier for you to stick on them, especially with the crowd control that this build brings. You want to make sure you hold on to that as much as you can, or get yourself in a position where you know, hey, I'm going to crowd control them, I'm going to run, here's an exit, anything like that. Depending on how the fight's going, just make sure that you hold on to your boots for as long as you can. Now, when it comes to your passive, you want to make sure that you take Toughness. This is going to increase your defense, just making you a little bit more tankier, allowing you to take a little bit of those extra hits. All right, so for your cloak, you're going to go with the Avalonian Cape. Now the Avalonian Cape, what it does here, it does damage and it also buffs you. So while you auto attack, it's collecting energy and it'll unleash it after a bit of time, doing magical damage to all your enemies in a 6-meter radius. It also reduces the damage that enemies hit by 15% for 4 seconds. So this is just going to make you take a little bit less damage. Now, as far as your consumables, I recommend going with like catfish or carrot soup. That way that your health regens quickly. For your potions, you can go with anything depending on what you're doing. If you're doing some more PvE, you can go with like poison potions. If you're going to be picking some fights, you can always go for healing potions. Just depends on what you're doing. Yeah, but overall, this build is very strong and it's definitely going to help you win those 1v1s. It does really good in PvE. I was able to go ahead and clear through some of the Nightfall Abbeys without any sort of issues. Now, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be making more Albion Online content. If you'd like to catch me live, head over to twitch.tv/Donny956 and hit the follow button, where I'll be playing Albion and also other MMORPGs like Terrasland, World of Warcraft, Ashes of Creation, and other soul-like games like Elden Ring and Liza P. Now, like always, stay epic, stay legendary, and I'll see you in the next one.